Today's sponsor is Loot Crate. For less than $20 a month, Loot Crate gives the geek in you a special treat every month. Loot Crate is a subscription box service with more than $40 worth of geek, gamer, and pop culture gear, collectibles, apparel, comics, etc. delivered to your mailbox every month. This month, they're bringing you a fight for the ages. Suit up, choose your allies, and enter the arena for combat. They're ready to stand their ground this month with exclusive items from Blizzard, Fallout 4, Capcom, sponsor-worthy loot from the Hunger Games, as well as a few more items that will help their winners emerge victorious. You have until the 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific to subscribe and receive that month's crate, and when the cutoff happens, that's it, Jack. It's over. So go to lootcrate.com/kindafunny and enter the code kindafunny to save $3 on your new subscription today. Colin, what's your topic?
First of all, I wanted to say that it's funny that Spectre's in the theater with all the money it's grossing at the same time as that Gem movie, which apparently is the fourth lowest grossing wide release movie ever released. They're in the movies.
Nobody likes that Gem movie.
Well, to be fair, no one liked that character on Nashville either. Boom.
Now, here's the thing.
She was the most annoying character on that show.
First off, shut your fucking mouth. Secondly, we are not. Let's not.
She was supposed to be annoying.
Let's not cross our lines here. We are not talking about Aubrey Peoples. We're talking about the movie Gem.
I'm not talking about her as a person or an actor. I'm telling her character on Nashville was purposely designed to be annoying, and she nailed it. Great actress. Give her an Academy Award or whatever they give TV people.
Emmys. They give them Emmys.
Whatever.
And you keep talking the past tense. She's still very much active on the show. There's a very interesting storyline right now with her and Jeff. I don't want to spoil anything.
Jeff the asshole?
Jeff Fordham, yeah.
Why don't they just kill that guy? Just put a fucking bullet in the back of his head.
He's dead. I'm sorry to break it to you this way.
What the fuck, really?
He did die, yes.
Did someone put a bullet in the back of his head? Did I kill him?
No.
Was it me?
No.
Okay. How'd he die? Tell me offline. Don't spoil it for people. Well, you've already spoiled it for people. How does he die?
Don't spoil it.
Nobody watching right now fucking cares, and you should be caught up on Nashville. It was actually Juliet's going through a really hard time. She got postpartum.
Juliet killed him?
She's got postpartum depression, so she was on a roof about to commit suicide, right? And Jeff saw it and ran over to save her and pulled her back, but then he fell.
Show's so fucking stupid.
Are you fucking with me?
I'm dead serious.
I gotta get back
And
into
Luke
the show.
Wheeler's son saw it all, but he had been boozing. So what does he do with this information?
It's like the Game of Thrones.
Oh, wow.
We all win in this one, though.
Well, I'm glad they killed this character.
Kevin put up his hand. To be clear, it's better than Game of Thrones. Ooh, there's monsters on the other side of the wall. Maybe in another 7 seasons they'll get here and do shit.
Anyway, I was just thinking recently about conspiracy theories, which I love.
Were you,
I
Colin?
love conspiracy theories.
That doesn't sound like a thing you'd think about.
Now, I
Hollywood
like reading about them because I like reading about. I don't believe most conspiracy theories, but I enjoy reading about how people kind of jump to these conclusions and why there's some interesting stuff. Like the moon landing clearly happened, but there's some interesting stuff that can be all proven false. But people still go down this rabbit hole of why they believe that the United States never went to the moon. We went to the moon. If you really believe that, you need to get checked. But there are some conspiracy theories that I think are really interesting, and some I even believe. And I was curious if there were any conspiracy theories, and they don't have to be necessarily like well-known conspiracy theories, but things that the record states happened that you just don't believe happened the way they said it happened. And my example is the JFK assassination, which I think is like fucking weird, and clearly something happened. There was clearly a second shooter.
Right.
There's like all sorts of evidence, like the government's own panels like were saying that something was off after this happened in the 60s. And we kind of just like swept it under the rug, like a man just goes into a school book but depository, goes out a window, aims at the president, and just kills him for no reason. Like there's just no motive.
With a shot that's similar to what was that, a Wanted, where he fucking curves the bullet. Wasn't there like some crazy trajectory shit?
That's why they think that there was the shooter on the grassy knoll and all that kind of stuff, and like the way that because he hit the governor in the front seat and all that kind of stuff too. And I don't know. So I don't want to get too deep into the JFK assassination, but I've always been fascinated by that particular conspiracy theory because I believe that there's some veracity towards that conspiracy theory. Whether or not, I don't know who the fuck was responsible for it, whether it was the mob or it was just like Lee Harvey Oswald was a crazy person, but also a really good scapegoat. right? He was a communist sympathizer. He lived in the Soviet Union. Like, there's all of this weird shit about him. And then Jack Ruby kills him. And Jack Ruby has like mob ties. And I was like, why did they kill? Why?
Jack Ruby doing America's service and jumping up and killing this guy who killed the president.
Like, I don't understand. Like, it's just very, very weird. Meanwhile, like, there's clear film footage of weird shit happening, and there's people that were there that like swear to God that there was like a shot coming from another area in another place too. So that's
it makes sense though. I mean, like, think about it this way: if you're going to assassinate a high-ranking public figure, why would you have one shooter? Well, if it's an open car, which is ridiculous that they used to let that happen anyway, I guess. Learn the hard way, but like, yeah, it makes sense. You'd have at least some backup, right? Wouldn't you have a couple people out there with a couple more sniper rifles?
Yeah, that's why I think there's just. Do you
feel like Harvey Oswald took a shot though?
Yeah, I think he was in on it.
Yeah,
and I think that someone told Jack Ruby to kill him because he was going to talk.
Right,
and Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't alive that long afterwards. Like, everyone forgets, like, Lee Harvey Oswald didn't even get a chance to say anything really. And the only things that it's really fascinating to watch the footage of him walking by, like, claiming that he's like, there's more to the story, like he's innocent and all that. I'm sure he's definitely one of the shooters, clearly. Mm-hmm. But why did Jack Ruby just? And what's crazy is Jack Ruby killed him on fucking national TV.
Yeah, walked.
That's like one of the other. That's like one of the other crazy things. Everyone just saw it happen. Jack Ruby just walks up to him and fucking shoots him. I'm like, this is insane. Like,
how did they talk Ruby into doing that?
I don't know.
They had shit on him too. That was just his life.
Yeah, like, I don't. So we don't have to go fall down that rabbit hole, but I'm using that as an example of something where I'm like, okay, we landed on the moon. There was probably nothing super untoward about when Reagan was almost assassinated in 1981. Like, all this kind of stuff. But with this, there's something about this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Another great conspiracy theory that I don't believe in, but is possible, and there's some interesting evidence is that we knew that Pearl Harbor was going to happen. And
that's an interesting one.
And that we let it happen.
But isn't that kind of substantiated a little bit by the fact that like all the fleet had moved out like the day or two before?
Yeah, well, I think the
carriers were all not like all the carriers were gone. Everything that was actually vital to our Navy was gone, and they just sunk a bunch of old ships.
Yeah, well, it's more about there were some ship movements with the Navy, but there was more like cables being sent back and forth, like indicating that like they knew, and the Japanese were still in Washington, like fainting, FEINT, like saying that they were like,
doing peace talks.
Yeah, exactly. Like they were conducting peace talks with with Washington at the same time. But like there was apparently some people that knew, and it's all sorts of weird shit going on. But
I'd be a little pissed off. I was in another nation's capital conducting a peace talk, and behind my back, my fucking superiors bombed that nation. I'd be like, well, I'm dead.
Well, they knew.
That wasn't behind their backs. No, they knew what they were.
Oh, they knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. Mm. So that's just an example. Area 51, all this stuff. I mean, there's a million different.
9/11. 9/11, this little thing that I saw that no one else saw called definitely. Loose Change, and it was pretty convincing.
Did you like Loose Change?
Actually, real talk, I did enjoy it a lot. But it's interesting. I think I was like 15 when I first saw it, and I remember seeing it, being like, "Holy shit!" Like, but this is the problem: is when people say things that are. Do you know what this is?
No, what's Loose Change?
Oh,
documentary about 9/11.
It's like it's like a documentary.
I'm sorry, throw the air quotes around
about the conspiracy theory of 9/11, of how it was all America's fault, and like it was all an inside job. And
got it.
The part of 9/11 that gets me is at no point. I mean, the whole what is it? Jet fuel can't melt steel beams like that. I'm fine with the jet fuel melting that and collapsing the building. Pentagon still gets me. I still think something else happened at the Pentagon. Not something else.
Like a missile or something?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. But like the worst was when they're like, all right, fine. We've heard you all. We're going to release the footage. I'm like, well, thank you very much. And they put it out. It's like 3 frames. And you see like something. And then the explosion. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the whole problem of like. And like,
there's some weirdness
about what a hard shot that is to make. The fact that no cars were blown off the road. That there's no like, that it was a perfect thing. There was, it's like.
See, the problem with conspiracy theories, though, is that whenever something bad happens, it's like if something were to happen, no one's prepared for it to happen. So then once it happens, it's easy to be like, oh, well, how did that happen? But if it happened, it happened. Like Princess Diana's death. That's another one that people talk about conspiracy theories. Okay. Wow. What you just talked about.
JFK?
Yeah, JFK. It's like all these things. It's just like things happen. So then it's easy to kind of look at and be like, well, how did that happen?
Exactly. That's the problem. That's why it doesn't keep me awake.
Yeah, but I feel like there's always a level of detail that the public just doesn't get. And that's, I think, where a lot of the conspiracy theories start to kick in, where it's like they don't release full reports on all this stuff for national security. Maybe it's for altruistic reasons, or not altruistic, but good reasons, right? Like maybe they don't want to give details out in ongoing investigations, things like that. But that's where I feel like it starts to open up a little bit of a wedge with the public, where you're like, wait a minute, how is that even possible? Where there is an answer for it, they just can't share that with you.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh fuck, and then the crazies start to come out, like me. Aliens are real.
Well,
Greg.
the way I always gauge conspiracy theories is, and why I don't believe in the 9/11 conspiracy theories, regardless of like whatever, you know, a lot of the science is weird anyway about it, but is you just have to look at it rationally. Like simplest explanation tends to be the right one, but also like how many people are involved in the conspiracy. So for a conspiracy to be true, everyone has to keep the secret. So like the moon landing conspiracy was always nonsense because that would have involved thousands of people, including the Soviets, by the way, who tracked the fucking ships going to the moon, you know, and would have loved if we didn't actually go. They would have fucking said that in 2 seconds. They know we went because they watched it happen, you know? So it was like the Soviets were in on it too. Mm-hmm. Like we embarrassed them, but they're in on it. Okay. And then everyone in NASA's in on it and the executive branch is in on it. This involves thousands of people. You know, Kubrick's in on it, by the way, as well, since he's the one who, you know, is the one who filmed, or whoever, you know, I think it was Kubrick, right? They used to say was the one who filmed. They thought would
the one that actually filmed the fake moon landing. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so I'm like, all right, that doesn't make any sense. And now with the moon landing conspiracies are so fucking stupid now because we can, like I've said before, you can point a fucking telescope at the moon and see the evidence that we were there. We were there.
It's a hologram.
So like that. So
you know, the moon doesn't even exist.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
It actually gets bigger.
So we were there. The same thing with the Pearl Harbor one is interesting because we did want to get in, and when Pearl Harbor happened,
is that a conspiracy so much as it just is like a lack of information? Like, would it be considered a conspiracy if
we let it happen? Yeah,
I guess it would.
It's definitely a conspiracy. It cost thousands of lives too, but it was, you know, because Churchill was the one who said, like, you know, finally, like, you know, paraphrasing, like, finally the Americans are going to get in because like we were. People forget or just don't know. Like we were very neutral. Like we were chaotically neutral during like the early 20th century. Like we did not get involved in shit. That was how it was. So there's cause to expect that they would need something terrible to happen, and the Nazis were not going to do it. So we needed the Japanese to do it to us because the Japanese had interest. We have an oil embargo on Japan, so like they're in a lot of trouble. And if you guys can read about it, I'm not going to get too into that, but we really strangled the shit out of the Japanese economy, and they had that was their imperative. They attacked the Philippines and everything at the same time. So there's something to it, but again, I just don't believe it because of how many people must have been involved, you know, from the Department of Defense or the Department of War to, you know, the executive branch, the military, everyone like was in on this, you know, like the people that were reading the radars, everyone just, you know, so like again, like it doesn't make any sense.
But I mean, think about how many people are sitting in the NSA right now that are privileged to that kind of information every day that don't leak, right? Like it's amazing that we've only had one gigantic, massive leak come out of that organization in the last however many decades.
Well, sure, but it's different now too. Like when Snowden leaked everything, he had to flee. But when Deep Throat leaked a bunch of shit, he stayed exactly where he was. Because it was different. The technology was different. It was harder to track people. Dead drops were way easier to do. So, but the reason that I believe the JFK, there's something up with the JFK is it doesn't involve that many people. If like you,
well, not only that, but they also started killing people too. It's like that. It's like that old school first rule of assassination: kill the assassin. Like that's what they did.
Yeah,
literally that's what they did.
Yeah, he was alive for like a day.
So Ruby died. Didn't Ruby die early in prison?
Ruby was in prison for a while, and there's all sorts of. He died, I think, later in prison, but he started saying some shit too, and that was like the. So the reason I believe in that is like the JFK assassination, if it really happened, depending on who might have been responsible for it, if it is indeed a conspiracy, may have only involved a few people. You know, and an organization like, say, the mob, which was one of the organizations that might have, you know, is assumed to maybe have some conspiratorial, you know, relation to it with JFK or whatever, is known to keep their secrets. So it's not like this involves departments of government and all this kind of stuff. This might involve an assassin, a few people.
Well, wasn't one of the theories
LBJ
why the mob was involved with it because of the Bay of Pigs? Didn't they utilize some of the mob's resources to go down there, and then Kennedy totally fucked everyone over, and they were like, "Well, we got to kill this guy now," or was it different? Was there something else that went to it?
There's like a million of them. The one that I find most convincing has to do with LBJ and just like weird shit. Dallas being a perfect place to do it since it's in the deep South. There's some animosity towards Northern Catholics, you know, there. There's a lot of like weird stuff. And I want to be clear that I'm not saying that it happened like this. I'm just saying that it's out of all of these different things, this is really one of the more interesting ones to me because, and why I pay attention to it, why I like to read about it, just because it's the most plausible of all of the major conspiracy theories that I can think of. The 9/11 one doesn't make any sense to me because, again, all the people involved in having, like, you know, controlled explosions in the buildings, putting bombs in the buildings beforehand. Like, this involves fucking lots of people. Like, I just, I don't trust that no one would say anything. I think that there's some weird shit that happened on 9/11 for sure. I think that fourth plane was shot down, like in Shanksville. I think that a fighter pilot shot that fucking plane down.
Yeah, but that's understandable why you wouldn't tell the public that, right? Like,
right, but
I don't necessarily. I mean, as we have a right to know, but at the same time, I can imagine being put in that position as the president and going, you know what, the nation does not like this. We might want to wait on this one a little bit.
Well, they'll never admit it. But the reason that I'm convinced that happened or that that's plausible is, again, because no one's involved in this decision. There's one fighter pilot, maybe a few planes, so a few fighter pilots, the people that make the decisions in the military and the executive branch, that's it. So it's not like saying, like, go into the building a week beforehand, set the explosions. Did anyone see you? All these people are now involved. The people that sent you the orders are now involved. The people that made the bombs are involved. And now we have to involve the terrorists that came in from Portland and Boston. Then I'm like, oh no, this is way too crazy. After the fact, it's believable that pilots were dispatched and they shot down anything that was in the air. You know, and I believe that I 100% believe that happened to that Shanksville plane. Yeah. Regardless of the story they fabricated about it, whether or not I'm saying fabricated in quotes because it could have happened. I mean, that was supposed to be a very like uplifting.
Was that when
the people took over the plane? Yeah. But I just don't know that that's really the case.
But the wreckage was spread over like too far.
So then, what do you think of the phone calls and such that the people on the plane made to their family?
Yeah, and this is where the conspiracy gets complicated because then this involves more people. But there could be all sorts of like false flag shit going on during this. But again,
think about when people like our government, the fact that they're running black ops around the world right now. Think about how many people are involved in that, and think about how little the public knows about those things. Right? This is an organization that the military is an organization that's supposed to be keeping secrets. It's supposed to be covert. It's supposed to be like it's not founded on the tenets of transparency with the public. So I don't think it's beyond the realm of doubt that you could keep a secret of this magnitude, considering when you start going back and looking at some of these like Black Ops missions that like Navy SEALs did in Vietnam, or even the mission to go get Osama bin Laden. I mean, these are a lot of people that had to be involved in this in order for it to actually go off without a hitch, and they do. So I don't know. It's not.
But the bin Laden raid is not a secret.
No, but like
it was until it happened,
right?
But it's not a secret. Like it happened.
But there's a little bit of conspiracy behind that because
people don't think it happened.
Well, some people don't think it happened. Other people also think that they knew, they had an idea of where he was, and they were just waiting to go and get him until it was politically advantageous. But that's
one thing, and also people think that like we got rid of his body, and there's no proof that we ever got him at all. But I think we got him. I think it would have been a really.
He would have popped up.
It would have been a really.
What up, motherfuckers?
No, people are missing the forest for the trees with that one. It would have been a super propaganda tool to release a picture of him dead. You know,
we killed him too prematurely, and then we just sat on it for a while. Like I always think that's one of my weird, unfounded theories. I'm like, I bet we knew. I bet we found him like a month after it happened, killed him, and just sat on it for a while.
Well, we could have gotten him really quickly and like Tora Bora and all that kind of stuff. We acted quickly enough, but it's just
because the perfect example is like we got Saddam. That shit was everywhere. Remember we got that. Yeah, how many times did you see the shot of him like coming out of the fucking hole with his hair all fucked up, and he's like, "Where am I?" And then they showed his body being hung. I mean, that's
the video disgusting. Of him actually getting hanged was like really disturbing.
That was very disturbing.
Because it's hard to say, but even like my feeling on that was like, doesn't he like he's definitely a war criminal, is definitely gonna get executed, but doesn't he deserve like due process? You know, this almost seemed like
he had a trial.
He did have a trial.
Yeah, it was a kangaroo court, you know, like they should have went to The Hague or something. But and I say that not as someone who likes Saddam Hussein. No one likes Saddam Hussein. I'm just saying like you can't set terrible precedents where you know you let the people you destroy a government, let his opponents try him, and then just execute him like that. To me, I'm like that's not justice. You know, like like when I saw that, I'm like that's not a good look for us. To let that happen. We had nothing to do with it, but we let it happen. So,
but the verbiage the president was saying around that time too was very, very, very like very harsh. Where he was like, he was basically ordered the assassination of another dictator, it was very interesting to hear that. It was very interesting to hear I'm sorry, I'm mixing this up with Osama bin Laden. My apologies. When Osama bin Laden was found, he basically was like, yes, I ordered them to go in there and.
Well, that's different. I mean, that's. Anyone would have taken a shot at Osama bin Laden.
I'm
not saying that Saddam Hussein's a good person. He's a fucking awful person. I'm just saying that was a little fucked up. just the way that all went down, the way that video was released, and you know, I don't know. It doesn't matter. But he's dead, and that's what he deserved. But anyway, I don't know if you guys have any things you want to bring up, because I mean, those are the ones that kind of stick out to me. Roswell, of course, is another one, but
aliens are always the ones that I'm fascinated by.
What did you think of the missile test then?
I find it highly suspect that there was a missile explosion 5 weeks after we found a Dyson sphere. Right, Kevin? Highly suspect, Kevin. No, I don't know. I mean, you never know. I feel like all those can be very easily explained with they are just testing new technology that occasionally goes awry, right? There's always the flying
in the middle of the
saucers and all that
night
stuff.
in Los Angeles.
I'm telling you, man, that's how you test it.
Yeah,
you gotta weave it.
Let's fight over one of the most
weave it out.
popular cities. People,
didn't
everyone
actually-
has a camera. Yeah, that's a great idea.
I
Test
didn't
it there,
actually
George.
read the story on that. So what was the official word from
It was some
from the
missile
government.
thing.
it's
they
a war
were doing.
game, I think.
Yeah.
over Los Angeles? I'd be like, hey, stop doing that.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
Bro,
There's definitely something up with that, but that's not really a conspiracy theory. I mean, it is, but it's not what I'm like. Bad thing happens, or interesting thing happens, or like the moon landing, good things happen, and then how can you deconstruct it to make it seem like it doesn't happen, and what is the motivation behind it? Obviously, the motivation with the moon landing was huge. The motivation with JFK was nefarious, but huge depending on who you're talking to and what the motivation was. That's why it's so interesting to read, because, and that's why one of the things that works against the JFK assassination is that being anything more than just a crazy person in a building is that there's just way too many motives for way too many groups. And so like, who is it? Who was it? You know?
Mhm.
And, but out of all of them, if someone were to like lay out 10 of these things or all of the ones we talked about today and said like, which one is the one that was fucking not the way they told it, I would be like, JFK assassination.
Oh, yeah.
10 out of 10 times.
So here's a question then. We've talked about ghosts on this show. We've talked about aliens. We've talked about Bigfoot. I mean, not this episode, but the show, right? All the time. And I was talking about how much I used to love those shows about all these paranormal and things, but how technology and the camera and the video and the YouTube and the live streaming have crushed all that. I don't know about you, like 9/11 seems like it was yesterday to me, but in reality, in terms of technology, it was a lifetime ago. Because of where we are, our conspiracy theories, at least in the way we're talking about them right now, a thing of the past. Like, right? Because I don't think there's like a conspiracy for 9/11 necessarily. I don't know. I want to know more about the Pentagon. I want video footage of what happened at the Pentagon, right?
Well, what is the motivation for bombing the Pentagon?
I mean, that's what I'm saying is I've never thought through this theory. I think something weird happened there. I want to know why something weird happened there. But what I'm saying is, like, now if that was to happen, there'd be 14 different angles of it, right? Mm-hmm. When that fucking jet a few years ago bottomed out at SFO, I was like, well, I'm just going to wait for the footage. And sure enough, some random guy was on a hotel balcony shooting planes landing and had the whole crash on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it seems like you can't get away with anything anymore. There'd be footage everywhere.
I mean, I think
everything
there
you've
though, is the video fake or not? I think that's the new conspiracy theory of what's real when everyone has cameras and everyone has After Effects.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
done. Nick, let's make a fake video.
We make fake videos every day.
But I mean a good one.
Okay. I think we made one last night.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't waste a lot of time thinking about conspiracy theories because I don't research things to begin with, so I really have no knowledge base, period. But yeah, I mean, I think that there is something to be said when there's a gigantic fireball in the sky. There's got to be a little more to that. I think it's natural curiosity. It's like, even if it was a military thing, like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
What happened?
I mean, I enjoy conspiracy theories because the people that get really into them, like, they're fucking whack jobs in the best way, where like they get so into it and they have such like proof and evidence, and they're just like, well, how come this shit happened? Like the questions.
Yeah, no, it's
the questions are always like, you're right.
You sit there and you're like,
You're
that is
right.
a great point.
Yeah.
Why would that
But
be
it's like
that
the
way?
problem is you can adapt it to literally anything. So going back to Loose Change, a couple years ago, the guys made I forgot what it was called, but the Star Wars Loose Change,
Oh, those guys. Okay, I know what you're talking
where they
about.
took
now,
Loose
right?
Change but then applied it to the Death
Empire,
Star,
yeah.
and how the whole thing was a conspiracy theory, and that's fucking hilarious because everything they said was right. What was it called? Luke's Change, which is amazing.
That's really funny.
But yeah, like that video is so funny because it is the same as any of the conspiracy theory things, except it's about something that's make believe. I was gonna say made up. Make believe got stuck in there.
It's okay. It happens to the best of us. Things get stuck in places all the time.
Oh yeah, like last night.
Okay. Well, that was good. Stop it with the chicka-wah-wahs.